Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and get started here. My name's Ben. Glad that everybody could join us today. The objective of today is to go over cloud communications and unifying your communication platform and tools in the cloud. Webinar will last about 45 minutes. It will be recorded during that time. Everybody will be muted. So if you do have questions, you can certainly throw them out in the chat, but you might want to throw them on a parking lot and we'll address them at the end of the webinar. Additionally, um, you'll have my contact information at the end of the webinar. If there's anything that you need or any information, you can feel free to reach out to me, go to our website, onecloud.us. I'll be more than happy to help you. So the future is unified, transitioning from on-premise tools to a cloud-based communication tools. Essentially, some of the things that I'll touch base on today are what are these what do these communication tools look like? Um, uh, your business size, improving your customer experience, fast and more reliable collaboration. We'll talk about some integrations such as Microsoft Teams or CRM integrators. We have Omni Contact call centers that I'll discuss. Um, Talk a little bit about analytics and data, navigating or what it looks like to move to the cloud, and then we'll go over a return on investment. My name is Ben. I've been in the technical industry for about 25 years on and off, starting out, not to date myself too much, but worked for America Online back in the day. That was really my segue into the technical field. It was an interesting period of time with dial-up, but a lot has changed, obviously, over the years. AOL kind of being one of those communication tools back in the day that kind of revolutionized how we all communicate. Customer service is my jam. That's one thing that I appreciate more than anything. I found that, providing not just good quality products, but over educating and really helping our customers by providing sound solutions to them really improves the overall relationship. So the first thing that I'd like to go ahead and cover today is the future is unified. I'll go ahead and cut my camera off. What's the difference between an on-premise solution and a cloud-based solution? So on-premise, in your location, somewhere in your office, there's normally a little closet with a bunch of noisy devices in there with a bunch of flashing lights, a lot of cables pouring out of them. Generally, that's your communications closet. In your communications closet, you're going to have a lot of different pieces of equipment. All of those pieces of equipment are obviously tangible. You need to touch them and manage them, usually requiring an IT team or somebody in your facility to do the rebooting or checking on those pieces of hardware. On-premise communication tools, essentially, depending on what your tools are, you're going to have maybe a tower, a computer tower in your data closet. You might have a server in your server rack, or you might even have, an old school phone cabinet. And in that phone cabinet, it's got multiple different cards. Each one of those cards do some type of different process for communication. Some of them might accept the dial tone handoff coming into your building, allowing your calls to go in and out of your office. Some of them might be expansion cabinets, allowing you to add more phones or devices. Some of them might just run your voicemail. These are all physical points of failure. So what would happen if one of your cards went down or your dial tone went down? Your network might still work, but unfortunately your phones are down and your communications no longer working. And then on top of that, having to maintain and manage replacement hardware. So there's always that variable of, hey, if this card or if this box goes out, not only do I have to worry about the loss of business that I'm getting from having this hardware down, but now I have to replace it and source it. And depending on the age of your communications platform, it might be pretty expensive or come at a premium just because it's kind of antiquated. Moving to a cloud-based communications platform, it really simplifies a lot of what type of tangible equipment or devices you might need to have on site. So, for example, you no longer have that phone cabinet in your office. That actually now lives in the cloud. So essentially, for chatting or for video conferencing or for calling in your business, all you technically need is internet coming in. You need a router, of course, for security of your network. In our case, we also do things called quality of service, where we condition the voice traffic to, make it as best as possible with your in your organization. You'll need some data switches and then, of course, your computers. With cloud-based communications, you no longer have to just be tied to that physical phone. Now you might have a web phone. That web phone will go wherever you go. You might use your cell phone app, but in order for all of these tools to work, you don't need that physical hardware in your location. So it really simplifies your point of failure, and it simplifies some of the issues that you might run into that could cause unexpected expenses. So I'd like to jump into a couple of case studies before I dig into all the other pieces. Just one example of a move to the cloud is we had a mid-sized plumbing company. Mid-sized plumbing company had somewhere around 250 employees, with about 150 of those vehicles were fleet vehicles, and with those fleet vehicles, they all had cell phones. Now, one thing that they were having a hard time doing was capturing communications between their dispatch team and their service team. At that point, it was just going from their local phone system in their building to these, let's say, for example, Verizon cell phones. They weren't able to capture that communication. Additionally, they were sending pictures back and forth when, if you've had anybody, a service technician, come to your business or your home, generally they're going to have an iPad or some type of device that they're going to take a picture of the equipment before they get started with the job. And then once they've completed the job, they'll take another picture. They send that back to their home office for verification that the job was, good to go. So they wanted to capture that information, historically, and the way that we could do that is by moving them over to a cloud-based platform. We were able to unify everything under our particular product, which is OneCloud. We moved the entire home office over to the one cloud platform. Essentially, now all calls and all communications and all those analytics are recorded into one place. But now on the cell phones, they were using a cell phone app initially to communicate back and forth. That cell phone app would again capture all of the pictures that are being sent back and forth, as well as any phone calls that are made. We're kind of a unique communications company. So eventually, what we were able to do is actually move those users over to OneCloud Mobile. And with OneCloud Mobile, we were able to essentially cut their cell phone bills in half. So before, they were paying somewhere around $50 a month for each one of those cell phones, which equated out to about $7,500 a month in expenses just for that collaboration. Moving them over to our platform, we were able to just convert the cell phones over to using a OneCloud SIM. And essentially, what that did is that cell phone now became an extension on the phone system. Any phone call in or out of that cell phone was recorded, as well as any messages or photos that were sent back and forth were also captured, and they could all be looked at in the communications portal. So, I mean, again, their primary challenge that they were running into was one, capturing all that information for historical reasons, but also, the hardship of being able to manage all those cell phones was also an issue. Consolidating everything into the cloud, you no longer had to go through a third party to manage each one of those cell phones. At least the dial tone portion of it, everything could be controlled. The numbers, the routing, all of the calls, all of their recording was able to be recorded in one place. So overall, once we were able to convert them over, we solved all of those needs and made it much easier for them to manage their day-to-day operations, to capture a historical record of all of those calls. And then, not to mention, we're talking about saving a substantial amount of money monthly on their cell phone bill by converting over to a one cloud platform. So, I mean, the return on investment on that was fairly substantial for them, and overall, it really improved collaboration. It was easier for them to communicate. So to move on to another case study is we also had been working with a mid-sized mortgage company. Now the mid-sized mortgage company, about 2 years ago, business was really booming. Mortgage rates were at all-time low. They were scaling. They were doing a lot of marketing to get their name out there, to get that increased traffic. Everybody wanted to refinance their home if they had the means to do it. They were running into issues scaling due to the fact that they had an on-premise phone system, and in that on-premise phone system, it was hardware based. So this was a VIA cabinet within their office, and they needed to add users to that cabinet quickly. That became a real challenge. They started running into issues with sourcing licenses. These licenses were needed to be applied to that phone system in order for these phones to come up. They needed physical hardware, and then in addition to that, if they wanted to use any web phones or remote tools on that platform, the configuration was somewhat of a nightmare. It was a lot more challenging to be able to have an end user figure out how to put port information and all these crazy details into the configuration piece, and then also dealing with a lot of issues with home networks and getting certain equipment up. It was a real challenge. So they were restricted by having the ability to scale their phone system up fast enough. They were hiring two people a week. They needed to be on the phone. They needed to be taking those inbound calls, and they just couldn't scale at the clip that they needed to. And then additionally, some of the marketing that they were running, they needed to add telephone numbers to their systems that were in different states. So they were running marketing in Washington, D.C., they were running marketing in California, they were running marketing in Florida. And to have new telephone numbers added to their inventory on that phone system working through their current provider or dial tone provider was a real challenge. So, they were kind of limited to their growth when, money was on the table. So we went ahead and moved them over to the One Cloud platform, and right out of the gate, they were able to scale at a much quicker pace as to adding users to the phone platform, the communications platform at that time was no longer limited by I need to scale my system, I needed to increase dial tone, I needed to add a new card. You can essentially spin up a new user on your phone system in less than 30, or on your communications platform in less than 10, 15 minutes. User could be added, a welcome email could be sent, and that individual has a web phone or a cell phone app ready to rock right out of the box and ready to start taking those incoming calls. So no longer were they having those issues of trying to scale, adding those new users, and it also made it much, much easier for them to have a hybrid environment. Once COVID came along, everybody was pushed to that cliff where, if you were an essential business, if you were not an essential business, you had to shutter your doors, and a lot of people had to quickly move to a remote-based environment. So for them, they were able to quickly add new users to take their incoming calls from anywhere. Another challenge that they had run into were adding those local telephone numbers with a communications platform like OneCloud. We can source numbers from any market. So if you need numbers somewhere in California, if you need numbers in Texas, if you need numbers in Florida, we can quickly add those numbers to your system. But on top of that, we can provide you a list of telephone numbers, and you can look at the one that you like the most. If you went to, let's say, a Spectrum, for example, and said, I needed a number, they're going to send you an order back that says, here you go, here's your number, have a nice day. There's no, you're not going to be able to kind of pick what you think is most aesthetically appealing. So it made it so much easier for them to add new numbers and really focus on their marketing. Now, one thing that they were also doing in certain markets is they were doing three different types of marketing. So they'd be doing a radio ad, they might be doing a paper publication, and then they'd be doing a Google ad. Each one of those ads, they'd request a new telephone number. They do the same type of marketing. The only difference is just how it's fed out, or the communications channel as it's fed out to the population. And then they can run reports using the cloud-based communications platform to see where are they getting the most calls? Where's the most volume coming in from their marketing strategy? Now, Texas, that radio ad might have been crushing it, but now in California, they're finding that a Google ad might be more effective. So not only did it simplify the fact that they were able to add more users quickly to their system, they could scale faster, it was easier for them to source numbers. But now, even when it comes down to their marketing tools, they're able to get a better idea of what is most efficient and what is driving the most traffic. With that said, that leads me to increasing efficiency, streamlining your business operations through the consolidation of communication tools. So, we have all used multiple different tools during the day to communicate and collaborate. You're going to be using maybe a different app for texting. You might use a different app for video conferencing. Your phone calls with your business might go through a different tool, or even let's say you want to do some mass notifications, such as SMS out to a large group of people. These are all different apps, different tools, different vendors that you're going to have to utilize as a business. So not only is it challenging to manage who does what, but there's a lot of multitasking trying to bring each one of those up. So consolidating communication tools facilitates calling, texting, video conferencing, faxing, all of those mass notifications from one tool and not several of them. So with all of your communications happening on one platform, the flow of communication between team members becomes streamlined, it becomes trackable, and it can integrate with many different tools such as CRM. Or even Teams. So overall, this functionality boosts productivity, ensures there's no information that's really slipping through the cracks. With these communication tools and the fact that they snap right into many other different platforms, it allows much more efficiency when it comes to on-the-go collaboration. No longer am I tied to one physical desk phone. As I alluded to before, you've got the cell phone apps, you've got web phones, you can even forward your extension to a cell phone or to another destination. So no matter really where you are, your extension or your existence on a platform within the business is all centralized and easy for you to collaborate not only with your customers but with internally. So it really speeds up that type of communication. Consolidating these communication tools as well, as I said, just really eliminates any of those redundant tasks. You're not having to click here. You're not having to open this app. It just really saves a lot of time. And again, it really makes it easy to manage. I'm not dealing with several vendors to be able to handle all of this. My employees are able to collaborate quicker. Our customers are getting faster information, and overall, this just streamlines the efficiency of everybody's communication. One size doesn't fit all. Aligning communication tools with your business model. So this is a really big piece here. Um, if you're making a decision or looking to move to the cloud, it's ensure that you understand what your needs are as an organization. So when you're selecting, what type of a communications platform that you want to move to, you need to ensure that it can scale during any type of growth seamlessly. And it's also important to understand what are the bolt-ons or what are the add-ons or what are the additional services that these communication providers might offer. Such as OneCloud, we offer a lot of different tools. Not only do we offer a communications platform that encompasses voice and video, we also handle faxing. We also handle contact centers, which is just a large scale call center, reports and analytics. We do mass notification, SMS on a very, very large scale. We do mobile communication, so cell phones, and there's a lot of other tools that really align with that. And that's really the reason that that's most important is that all businesses come in different shapes and sizes. So let's say, for example, you're a large organization. A large organization might need something like a contact center. So when you're choosing a platform, a contact center is really important to understand that is included or something that communications company specializes in. For example, right now, Microsoft, everybody's all about Microsoft Teams, and there's Teams calling, which we do. We seamlessly integrate into Teams, but Teams does not really have a good contact center. So yes, Microsoft has a great collaborations tool. However, that piece is missing. So if a contact center is really important, where you're going to be able to look at call analytics, wallboards, configurable reporting, you want to manage your agents logging in or out of queues. It's important that you ensure that that is a piece or a portion that is available to you. Medium businesses, they may not have the same needs as a large scale business, right? Large scale business has a lot more capital. They may not have to worry about certain portions, but medium businesses, they start picking up steam and they start growing. And when they do, a lot of times there's acquisitions involved in that. So with acquisitions, a medium business might, over here, they bought XYZ company in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and they need to get them on net and they need to have them collaborating with their team as soon as possible. This location in Kansas may have a different communications tool. They might have an on-premise phone system at that location, and they hadn't really absorbed any of that cloud-based communication. So with a medium business, again, with cloud-based communications at that business, essentially, again, all they need is internet, router, network switches, and PCs, and you can get that whole entire team online and taking calls via web phones in no time. So it takes away a lot of the tangible hardware issues and some of the structure that the IT teams will have to manage onboarding new locations and making it a much simpler process. So I mean that's definitely important piece to reduce those hardware needs. It's reducing your manpower for maintenance and deployment and simplifies your communication costs again under one solution. So that new location that you just absorbed, when it comes to onboarding them onto your communications tools, there's not 25 steps. There's really only about 2 or 3 to get that up and running. Small businesses, small businesses tend to try to do more with less. Having one communications tool that consolidates, such as your texting, video conferencing, calling, and all of that into one place is an easy to manage package, and it's a huge benefit for a small organization. Small organizations, they're trying to focus more on the bottom line. They need to know what their daily costs are going to be. They need to know what their monthly costs are going to be. They want to be able to forecast what scalability is going to look like over the next several months. Another area that that's really helpful in is knowing that, if they don't have all of this additional hardware that they have to keep in their data closet and maintain, and hire a technician or even maybe a specialized service technician to come on site and cross connect phones or replace a card, those points of failure and those unexpected costs go away as everything is centralized. And then as a small business, again, your goal is to get to that medium-sized business or so hopefully someday that enterprise business. So you're going to scale and you're going to scale sometimes at a clip that's painful. And having a cloud-based communications platform, as I kind of alluded to at the beginning, a lot of these communications companies, much like OneCloud, have different tools and options that you can bolt into your solution. OneCloud comes in the seat model, just as many unified solutions do, which means that you can either have a very basic user that just does some calling, or I can have, let's say, a modern type user, and that modern type user included in that seat for one monthly price. I've got maintenance, which means that I can call in and make changes or modifications to my extensions, or I don't know how to use my tool, so I can call and get support in that. It includes your minutes. It includes video conferencing. It includes the use of all those tools, such as your web phone, the cell phone app, and a web portal. So the web portal allows you to go in and manage your extension. You can do a lot of different things, such as forward your phones or set up time profiles. Overall, as a small company that has to do less with more, it really allows them to not have to worry about communications as a friction point because, I mean, obviously, if you're not getting calls and you're not communicating internally and with your customers, you're losing business. So some organizations as well, they might have a hybrid device environment. One customer, for example, they have a contact center, but all of their C-level management likes to use Microsoft Teams. And then there's a whole nother group that is remote. So this particular customer has a mix of all of those things. They have some remote employees. They have some that just like to use Teams. They have this full call center. And one communications platform can consolidate all of that into one place. Everybody is still collaborating. They might be in different locations geographically. They might be using a different interface or tool, but all of this could be driven through one communications platform. And then as well, you're capturing all of that data and all of that information. So in conclusion on this one, that it's just really important that, as you're selecting a communications platform, really think about what your needs are, what the size of your business is, and what your future goals might be when trying to make those decisions. Improving customer experience through unified communication. So I kind of mentioned a few different things that makes this easier. On some of the on-prem solutions or some of the more antiquated solutions, you really don't have the the abundance of on-the-go collaboration. Web phones, cell phone apps, things along those lines are a lot more difficult to configure. And especially if you have on-premise solution, it really makes it a lot more challenging to configure that. You need more manpower to be able to configure the routing between these tools, and to make them all connect and work. So having a cloud-based communication system makes it really, really simple because now you have improved response times, and you have improved response times because you have more people within your organization that you're able to collaborate with quicker. Consolidating your communications platforms can just reduces response times because it's increasing your cross-channel communication. Now, in that same vein, you're getting better problem resolution. The better problem resolution comes into the fact that your team is more accessible, easier to reach. Everybody can collaborate at a quicker pace. So now I'm not only just calling, but maybe I need to send a message over to somebody, or maybe I'm going to shoot some pictures over, or maybe we need to have we had a customer who had a challenging experience and I need to loop all the stakeholders into one video call. You can do this quickly and seamlessly, and looping in everybody overall and having those better stakeholders providing that information ultimately enhances your customer satisfaction. The quicker that you're able to get everybody on your team together in one place, or even cross communicate using different channels, in the end is going to provide you with faster response times, with broader and more efficient collaboration, and this ultimately provides an overall better experience for your customer. In addition to that, some platforms provide things such as an omni-channel communications platform, what we call an omni-channel call center, for example. In an omni-channel environment, you can have one centralized location where your customers or potential leads are all communicating in a different way. And by that, I mean you can have web chat, you can have SMS or texting, you can have phone calls, or you can have email, and in some instances even have social media communicating right back to the centralized location. This really makes a big difference. One place that I see a big difference here is like generation gaps, for example. My father, he's approaching 70 years old. He's not going to be going to a website and doing any web chatting. Not anytime too soon. He's not going to be texting anybody to try and get an answer to his questions or finding out about products. He's going to be picking up the phone, and he's going to want to talk to somebody on the other end. My daughter, for example, though, she's 17. I'll grab my cell phone, I'll give her a call, rings a couple of times, goes right to voicemail. 5 seconds later, chat bubble's coming up. Hey, Dad, what's going on? She's texting me. So, having unified communication and some of these tools that allow not only internally for your employees to communicate and provide better solutions quicker, but you're opening up additional resources and different avenues for your customers to be able to communicate with you, and ultimately adding additional channels that could not only improve the customer satisfaction, but additionally maybe bring on some additional leads to your team. Now, another piece of that, I'd like to kind of jump over to some statistics about, what moving to the cloud has looked like, especially since, such as COVID. By 2024, 74% of new unified communication licenses acquired by organizations will be cloud-based. 74%. That's pretty substantial. That means that we're changing rapidly to the cloud-based solution, and there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of great tools and resources out there. But again, it's really important that you focus on what your needs are. In 2021, and this is obviously no surprise, organizations invested most heavily in video meetings, team collaboration, and collaboration security. And the interesting fact is that since the pandemic, 93% of enterprises has increased their unified communications usage. And that goes to tools like Zoom. That was kind of a really big one. Once COVID hit, everybody was doing those meetings. Zoom stands out because it's a big name, but there's a lot of other tools out there. Our own tool, we have OC Meet or One Cloud Meet. I personally am partial to it. I think it works and functions better than Zoom. That's just my preference. But Zoom is kind of its own standalone product. Some of these communication tools are able to unify all of that into one place and making it easier. A study conducted by the Aberdeen Group found that companies using integrated customer communications saw a 55% greater year-over-year change in customer satisfaction rates, primarily due to improved response times. I mean, that figure pretty much speaks for itself. So moving to a cloud-based communication platform, centralizing everything into one place, it not only makes it easier for you as an organization to manage, but it makes it easier again to collaborate. It's easier to track your information and enhances overall your customers' experience. And then there's a lot of cost savings in all of this. So, all right. Simplified and streamlined CRM integrations for your communications tools. This is a really, really important one. So your communication or unified communications platform, this is where all your calling, this is where a lot of your video conferencing, this is where a lot of your messaging kind of ties in. But other portions of communication solutions would be, let's say, for example, a CRM integrator. One Cloud has CRM integrators. We already snap into many of the other tools such as Salesforce or HubSpot, ConnectWise. What a CRM integrator is essentially it can snap into your CRM tool, and then, one example as a call comes into your business, it can pop a contact card from your CRM. Your CRM is where you're capturing all of your customer touch points. A lot of people are using it for your ordering, your inventory, your ticketing solutions. So when a call comes in, it can pop that contact card. So I'm Bill, I'm sitting at my desk. I might be on the account management team. I get an inbound call from one of my customers, and then bam, right in front of my face, call comes in, and I've got their contact information. But not only do I quickly have their contact information, I'm able to see the last order that they had, the last touch of communication they had with our team, any open tickets that they have. So with a CRM integration, it really streamlines incoming communication from your customers. Now, in addition to that, it also, depending on the circumstance and the type of integration, can leave a footprint in your CRM. And what I mean by that is that a call came in, it was answered by Bill, and a record of that call was left in your CRM tool that said call with Bill, had a call with Anthony from whatever technical company on this date. Here was the duration of the call, and then in some instances as well, a link to the recording of that communication. So now every touch point or call that's coming in out of your organization with your customer bases is being monitored. It's being captured, so you can essentially get a better idea of how often are we touching these particular customers. In your CRM tool, you can look at analytics and say, hey, I've got 2,500 customers. Which ones have I had the most communication with? Which ones maybe I need to touch a little bit more? And with that, it leads me into data at your fingertips. So with unified communication, everything is again unified into one place, and I'm able to report on a lot of different metrics. Um, One, for example, would be, I'm recording all of that information within my CRM of every customer touch point. I can see those call volumes. If it's tracked within my CRM, I'm able to see those touch points. I can see the effectivity of my communication. I can look at customer A and say, well, we've had 2,500 calls with them over the past year, but if I look over here at customer C, we've only had 30. Having that data and even the touch points in calls, it's all recorded automatically, really will help you get an idea of where maybe you need to apply more effort or apply more energy into communicating with your customer base. Additionally, let's say, for example, within contact centers or just an organization on a whole, you can report on all of your call data. I can look at my sales team and say, hey, sales team, this is all the amount of calls that you've made. This is the average hold times of calls that are coming into my organization. Where are my businesses getting some of the most communications traffic? And how do I stream that like that? Do I need to add more? Do I need to add more people to my team? Do I need to reduce the amount of people in my team? Am I collaborating with one customer more than another? The analytics available in these platforms, really make a big difference when you're trying to make a decision for your business. So I can give you a use case. One customer, they consolidated all their communications tools under one cloud, and they decided to opt in for SMS. So they decided now they wanted to allow SMS communication to come into a particular queue, which means they had their main number, but they also advertised that, hey, now you can text us across this main number. When they did that in very short period of time, they were able to start seeing reports that, they might have been receiving 250 calls a day to their main number, but they started seeing 15, 20, 25 text messages coming in through their main number through those analytics. And when they started seeing that, they were quickly able to make a decision and a shift to add more people to a chat queue. So now they're opening up an additional vein of business and increasing their leads and overall customer satisfaction just off of using data and analytics coming into their communications platform, finding a need, finding a niche that they didn't really utilize or lean on before. And this would allow them to increase the overall revenue of their organization. I mean, it was a hidden gem that they didn't even realize, and then they started finding that they were able to drive more business with something as simple as just allowing texting. Navigating the change. So this is kind of a big one. Navigating the changes. What does it look like moving to a cloud-based communication platform? What is involved in that? What should I expect? What should I prepare for? So consider some of the things to consider. First of all, is taking the time to map out your current communications processes and identify what you need from a consolidated system. You want to consider factors like team size, the nature of what you have to do, customer interaction requirements, and any specific features you might need. And then once you have a clear picture of your needs, you can select a suitable communications tool. Some of the things that you really want to look for and what you should expect when moving to a communications tool and choosing a communications provider is kind of what the upfront is going to look like. What does that roadmap look like? What type of support are they going to provide me long term? Within our organization, once you kind of come to an agreement with what you're looking for, and you sign that on that dotted line with our sales team, we have a whole back end support team that's going to step in right behind them, ready to assist you. One of the first things that they're going to bring in is our projects team. And what a projects team is and what their role is to support you, lay out that roadmap as to what to expect, and then help you step by step. Some of those things include an on-site or on-premise survey. We come on site, we'll look at all of your equipment. We'll make sure that you're ready to transition to that cloud-based solution. We're looking for other things like, hey, maybe you have a door box that's a little bit unique, or maybe you have a code that you need to enter in that opens a front door. So there's a lot of different information that you don't want to overlook there, and we see that a lot in the transitions to the cloud, where some of these vendors don't really they really overlook some of the on-premise equipment, kind of leaving you at the lurch once it's converted. Um, but the projects team will go ahead and start working with you in finding all of your programming information. Along with that, let's say you have telephone numbers that you need to port over, they will work with aligning the port date for you. So you're going to port your numbers from one carrier to another. Can be a very, very confusing and frustrating process on its own. And then they'll line up things such as training. Training is really important for you to think about when you're selecting a communications provider. Additionally, you want to think about the costs and the type of training that you're looking for. There is a significant difference between a remote training and then some knowledge-based resources, and then an on-premise training. Now, that's definitely going to come at a premium, depending on what you're looking to jump into. But if you're really looking for your team to absorb and have that special hands-on training, making the decision to find a provider that will provide that on-premise training is really important. So again, the projects teams come in, they do an audit of your system, they make sure that you're ready to go. They start setting that roadmap, they capture all of your programming information, they capture all the porting information, they set up that training time, and then they align what we call the cut date or the go live date. And on that date, all of your numbers will port over, your employees will be getting their training, phone system will be programmed, and then as your employees are coming out of that training class, they'll be jumping onto the phones on the new communications platform. Their job, project's role is really kind of set those expectations and to hold your hand as you go through it. Once that's completed, normally you'll work with an installations team for a while, and then um, you'll move over to a normal service department. Now, along that whole trip, you'll normally pick up what's called an account manager. And account manager's job is to maintain the lifecycle or relationship of your account, but also to make sure that you're adopting our products correctly. Are you using them to the best of the ability within your organization? Their role is to analyze what you're doing on a daily basis or how you're collaborating with these tools, and then make sure that your team's adopting the technology the way that it would work most efficiently for you. And then they're managing the long-term support of your account. So we don't just come in, cut the system over. It's all smiles and hugs and high fives at the beginning, and then once the dust settles, there's nobody left around to help you out anymore. You've got a full team to support you. And then again, I kind of talked to the seat model before. A lot of the maintenance is included. So each user that you add to your system, maintenance is built into that. So you've got that ongoing support. There's no additional for the cost for that ongoing support depending on your really deployment. So when you're selecting that communications team or provider, again, really think about what kind of a tools you use. What is your communication styles? What are the expectations of your customers when you're communicating? What does a deployment look like to you and your staff? What type of training do you want? What type of support, overall and long term, do you expect? What caliber of service that you expect is really important going into it. Always look at Google reviews too. Ping to that. You go check out ours. You should be delightfully surprised. All right, moving on here. The ROI of consolidating. So when we're talking about return on investment, we're looking at the combination of cost savings, increased productivity, improved customer satisfaction, and enhanced collaboration. Really, to put it, I could give you 100 different stats and 100 different numbers and 100 different use cases, but the one that I found that really stands out the most to me is single provider UC solutions like OneCloud can lower total cost of ownership by up to 56%. 56%. Total cost of ownership slashed in half for most situations when you're moving over. Again, you're eliminating that hardware. You're eliminating the points of failure. You're consolidating all of your tools into one place. You're increasing your employee satisfaction. And not only are businesses seeing that improvement in return on investment, but there's more employee satisfaction. It's easier to collaborate. They're seeing more productivity by adopting cloud communication. So again, reducing the need to switch between a bunch of different platforms. Employees can focus on their core tasks. This not only saves time, but reduce the likelihood of errors, and in turn, that increased productivity to lead to better business results and higher profit. So, I mean, really, in conclusion, consolidating these tools is not just an operational decision, which a lot of people think, but it's a strategic investment. By tracking these key metrics, businesses can effectively measure the return on investment of your transition to a cloud-based platform, ensure that it's bringing in viable returns for the terms of cost savings, and increase productivity and overall improved customer satisfaction. So there's a lot of benefits that come along with moving to the cloud, even though that it can be rather confusing. So with that being said, that's really all that I have for you today. I really appreciate everybody coming along. We'll go ahead and open this up for a Q&A session. You can see my information here in front of you on the slide. You feel free to reach out to me. You can visit us at telware.com or onecloud.us. At both of those sites, feel free to hit our web chat. You can communicate with an agent there, and we'll be more than happy to assist you. With that said, I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions. Anybody? All right. Well, This webinar was recorded today, so once it is completed, we will make it available. If you would like a copy, we can send that over to you as well. But other than that, I wanted to thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to having any discussions with you about a cloud-based communication platform. Thank you, and have a great day.